What's going on, good people? My name is James C Lovett, and I am guilty. Guilty of being called the Bad Wolf. And welcome to Badwolf Unincorporated. For those of you guys who don't know, I also have another channel on YouTube, and it's called Badwolf Unrestricted, where I talk about all the various topics entertainment, good, bad, ugly, relationships, health, and whatever else you can possibly think of over on that channel. And you may find that my insight is very unique, and my take on things is unbiased. Nonetheless, let's get going. So if you're watching this video, if this is your first time here, well, welcome to the tribe, and I hope you subscribe. The truth here will not be denied. So go ahead and hit that thumbs up if you would ever be so kind. Now, let's talk about it. This video is labeled status correction. If you're like most people, you're probably thinking, well, I've been hearing about this status correction, and what does it really mean? And is it really is it something to it? Is it truth? Is whatever it is? I'm going to try to help you dispel this. We're going to get to the truth on all of that right here, right now. Now, there's a number of people out there that have reached out to me. I've reached out to them. I've even heard some people, even as far as like Joe Rogan out there talking about, a little bit about status and, right to travel and all these things that, and I'm going to say it here, and I hope he does see this channel, and I hope he does want to talk. I would love to be on his. You can be on mine any point in time, but they don't know what they're talking about. There's a lot of things that people have feelings about. Reached out, said something to Candace Owens too. She's dealing with some things. I got some interesting insights, but once again, these people are too big for us little platform people. So that's all right. It's all about you guys, the regular people that need to hear this way more than them. But with them, the knowledge could be spread a lot farther and faster, which is why I need you guys to share this video, like, subscribe, and hit the bell if you want to be notified about when I go live and when I'm sending out more videos. So without further ado, let's get into it. So, status correction, from my perspective, is essentially a myth. But hold on, hear me out. The reason why I say that is because you were already born with your, well, how should I say this? Your faculties in place. All the things that you needed, you already have. You just didn't know. What do I mean by that? Well, there's a whole hidden layer of law and legal systems and things going on out there in the world that I wish I would have known, and I wish I would have seen this video when I first got started. So, a little bit about me, and then let's jump into it. Trust me, I got you covered. So, I've been doing this since I was 9 years old. I was in Boy Scouts. Matter of fact, I still have my Boy Scout book literally right here. And I became an Eagle Scout and I started learning about all the different things. But one of the things that troubled me, and I'm giving you guys the very short, condensed version of all this, is that there's a public side and a private side. What does that really mean? Well, what it means is that according to our laws, which are different than most other places in the entire world, when you're born in the United States of America, you have a right, you have a freedom, and you have a liberty. And one of your rights is that if you were born in California, in that geographical landmass, a part of the United States of America, you are known as a Californian. Florida would be a Floridian, New York is a New Yorker, and Wisconsin is a Wisconsinite. Arkansas, it too, Arkansan. Kentucky, Kentuckian. You get the idea. Now, for years, I didn't know that much like you, unless you're some of my already followers, viewers, clients, or the people out there in the municipalities, governments, and law enforcement who don't like me for what I tell because I tell the truth to a fault, even if it hurts your feelings, and even if I have to say this is true, and then I find out it's not, and then make another video to update it and say, well, I was wrong, here's the truth. But after all these years, okay, literally 30, 40 years now, I've been doing this. Here's the truth. You, as a Californian, a New Yorker, a Floridian, that title that you received when you were born makes you a Native American. It makes you private. It makes you tax exempt in most circumstances or events. and that is called being a part of the private, which is what the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, and Declaration of Independence was founded on. Now, they didn't call us in those documents Wisconsinites, Floridians, New Yorkers. It was already there. Everybody already knew that. So in those, they refer to us as nationals, state citizens, or the citizens of the several states is how they refer to us. Then, time later, a new class of individual was created, but they weren't in the private. They weren't tax exempt, and they owed the government in a list of everything that they do. And they were meant to service the people, the state citizens, the Floridians, the New Yorkers, Wisconsinites, the Arizonans, by being considered and called 14th Amendment public U.S. citizens. These would be your people who are your lawyers, your postal workers, your police officers, anybody who serves the public generally in some kind of official capacity is, in fact, a 14th Amendment U.S. citizen. Now, by law, these people are supposed to have been from and come from generally just the District of Columbia, D.C. D.C. is not one of the 50 states. Washington, D.C., Washington is the area that is considered our territory. D.C. is considered its own thing. It has its own laws and rules. It's like somebody marrying into the family. You got this new person in the back bedroom here, but they don't have Lovett blood. But I seen them at the family reunion, so I guess they're cool. That's D.C. D.C. is owned and controlled by the King of England, the City of London, and the Vatican. Those are the majority owners of it. Now, unless something's changed, that's where they're at, educationally speaking. Do your own research. However, let's see if I have the book here. Let's see if I can find it real quick. Um, ah, if you want to learn more about what's also known as the Empire City, I would highly recommend getting this book. This book right here will tell you all about the efforts, powers, struggles, and you'll start to be on a trail of understanding why there's a difference between a U.S. corporation and United States of America, the geographical, real, tangible ground, versus a paper entity doing business on top of that ground. That though they use the word United States, they're really owned by people across the big pond. And those people, now you can understand why political things are a little sketchy. Some of the things might be sketchy in your food. Your deodorants got some sketchy things in there. Political things, changing certain powers and various other things in our American way. And of course, do your own research. But let's get back to it. So I digress. Just giving you guys a little breadcrumb there. With that being stated, not only do you have this national standing, okay? Standing is for, we use the word standing because it means you're standing on a real land. But what does that mean? Well, the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, and the Bill of Rights are all based on what's known as terra firma jurisdiction, or laws of the land. The word law, or laws, L-A-W-S, stands for land, air, water, and space, because there's rules for all of those places, and each one has their own governing bodies. So the people who are under the 14th Amendment and those above them, we won't go into all that now, created a set of rules that are water based, which is why our courts and most everything else, whether people or a cop or whoever else knows it or not, are all based on maritime admiralty jurisdiction. These are rules and laws for water, and the places adjacent to their water sources built and natural, where their rules may apply. So, as a 14th Amendment U.S. citizen, you are considered to be in the public and taxable. Your name in all capitalized letters represents a legal person. What do you mean a legal person? Well, what do you think of businesses? You've seen businesses all across the signs and everything, these all capitalized words. Why is that? Why are they not upper and lower or all lower? Because each one of those are different jurisdictions and they all have different meanings by how they look. We won't go into all of that in this video. There's tons of other videos where I cover a lot of this. This is the introductory video for those people who are just getting started and you kind of want to have a better understanding. Now, of course, I do consultations. They're private. You have to go to blacksite32.com for that. But if you want to jump ahead and watch some videos, go to jamesclovett.com and you'll learn a whole lot more there. But that might be advanced if you're kind of new. But if you're already advanced, go check out those videos on jameslovett.com because those are the pieces you guys are going to need to take yourself from one level to the next. So now that you know that there's a private side and that you are in fact are a Native American, by that, it doesn't matter if you're black or white or gay or straight or this or that. If you're born here or naturalized, that's what you are. So let's take a look at some interesting codes online and see if maybe, just maybe, if I'm right. Because you need to know who and what you are. Let me cue up my video here. As always, guys, hopefully you guys are healthy. Stay blessed. Love yourselves. Take care of each other. All right. So you should be seeing my desktop about now. Great. Cool. Awesome. Jazzy. As always, guys, I'm not saying necessarily you have to believe me. I'm just saying do your own research. But for right now, let's go to the GPO style manual. And what is that? This is the government's publishing office style manual, which means basically everything legal and that they do in the government. It has to be written down somewhere. In other words, it's kind of like the rule book or the instruction manual. So you can use 2000, 2008, 2016 government. I know you guys watch my videos. It's about time every 8 years. Or yeah. So we should be coming out with a new one sometime soon, right, guys? Right, guys? Not yet? Okay, cool. We're getting there. But for us, we can use 2000, 2008, 2006. It doesn't really matter. This is the newest. Obviously, this is the oldest. I like the 2000 because it shows some of the older terminology. So in here, I'm going to do a search for 5.23. This is going to take me down to a section called nationalities. And let's take a look. So nationalities, this word is plural, meaning more than one for the word national. So more than one national. So now we know that nationals are a real thing. And there's more than one type, but we're all in the same family. So we're just nationals. But contained within the word national is the word nation. So you are a part of a nation. Part of the root word of nation is nati, which means native. So you're a Native American. Part of the root word of nati is the word nat, which stands for natural. So you're living. A 14th Amendment U.S. citizen is a legal person, and a legal person is not living. They are a business. That's why it's represented in all capitalized letters. So your name on your driver's license is not actually you. You are the surety, the protector, the agent for that all capitalized name business. And it has the same name as you. That is called joinder or alter ego or multiple personality, legal personality disorder. You thought it was you. It is a business. It's an entity, separate and distinct from you. But when you transferred all of your stuff into that all capitalized name, your house, your car, your kids, your cash, your whatever, it all then went from the private into the public, and then they administer jurisdiction over everything called the public. But what is the public? The public is a membership for other 14th Amendment U.S. citizens. It is so big, it's called the public. But really, at its core, it's considered a PMA, a private members association, because not everybody in the world can join it. But you can because of your birthright as a private national. The laws are written that you may join it, you may create one. You can even pretend or imagine yourself to be one, whatever you want. So here it says, in designating the natives. So guess what? In fact, I was right again. We are natives. But of what? The several states. Capitalized S, showing the organic, meaning Alabama, Alaskan. So here, if you were born in Wisconsin, you're a Wisconsinite. That has meaning. It has standing in law. New York, you're a New Yorker. Now here's one. New Mexico is a New Mexican. That means you have certain rights, freedoms, protections, and liberties because you are directly party to the organic constitution for the United States of America. This is why when you watch TV and certain, you're like, oh, that shouldn't happen. They can't do that. It's because they're doing it to you as a 14th Amendment U.S. citizen. Now, this doesn't mean you can break the laws or you're above the law or anything like that. It's not what it means. It means you have the right to privacy and not be a part of their political party and their public circle within the big circle that is America. So, America, and then there's the United States Corporation. And you move yourself into their bubble while still yet keeping your private side. But now, because your name has been tainted, if you want to truly be private, you have to create something private and separate and distinct from yourself. Because your private name, which is known as a given name, has been tainted by you and your parents. And these entities, corporations, and law enforcement, and the city, and the county, or whatever else, got you when they did those things. And that's called being registered or registered. When you utilize your name in all caps, their services, their things, you are now regarded as a 14th Amendment or U.S. citizen. And as such, you now have to belong and take part and abide by, in mind, their rules. And they have their people in place to correct you. Whereas as a national estate citizen, you're not above the law, but generally their laws do not apply to you unless you waive your rights or do something wrong. Because as a national state citizen, you are supposed to, you have the ability as what they refer to as in the Constitution refers to as you being a sovereign. Sovereign means you don't answer to anybody, and you don't have to as long as you're not taking away somebody else's rights or hurting anybody or doing a crime. Doesn't mean you're above the law, but what it means is that you're saying that with my rights and freedoms, if I don't hurt anybody, I'm good. If I'm not causing public controversy, I'm good. If I'm not doing a crime, breaking an actual law, not a statute and a regulation, that's for 14th Amendment U.S. citizens. As long as I'm not speeding and endangering public safety, I have a right to be private. Matter of fact, one cop who explained it as well at a private meeting said, nationals and state citizens are people who just want to be left alone. We don't want to be in your political rigmarole and part of your membership. But can you do and play both sides? Yes. But in any one event, you can only be one or the other. You cannot be both in any one situation. You're either public or private. And if you have your name and they have it in their database, it's public. Your driver's license, public. Your credit card, public. Bank account, all cap name on your debit card, public. You want to make those things private, you now must create and learn how to live in the private, which is what these videos are about and the ones on jamesclovett.com. You have a right to do all the things, have all the tax breaks or be tax exempt, be private, keep all your money or adjust it over your house, your employment, your employer, all that stuff, just like the wealthy people do. But you have to learn how to do it. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. There are a lot of people who are learning this, and some are good. There's also a lot of bad people out there trying to scam you. That's not what we're about here. So be careful who you get your information from. Be careful of people who are agents of the system who don't want you to learn this information either. Be careful of people out there willing to charge you expensive prices for materials that you can get for free. Now, yes, I do sell stuff myself, but I keep them at a reasonable rate so that you don't have to do all of the homework yourself and you've got a better place to start without having to scour through hundreds of books. But the information is out there. And some of you guys might be thinking, well, I can get all the good information right from Chat GPT. It's AI, it's going to give it to me. And Chat GPT was created by the very people who've taken away your freedoms, your rights, and your liberties. So a majority of the knowledge that you get is going to be bad. Now, if you want to change your Chat GPT, or if you know how to ask it the right questions, then you're good. But if you don't know how to do those things, you can get one of my protocol forms where you copy and paste the protocols. Okay, as somebody who is an engineer and created software, we're not redoing it, but what we're doing is we're telling the AI, use these protocols when researching and use these terms to find things or certain books, which these are called American jurisprudence, which is the true law, real law, positive law, versus some of the places that the normal chat gets its information from. And just so you guys know, a private company actually came to me and asked me if they could train their AI to learn to do what I do here off of my videos. And we have that in a private agreement. I won't mention the name. So I kind of know what I'm talking about. And I've been winning court cases since I was 19, and I've been beating the legal departments and various other corporations because we have the ultimate right, freedoms, and liberties to do all of these things. But we've been operating in a diminished capacity as a legal person versus a state citizen. So now that I showed you guys that national is a real thing, let's take a look at some other interesting U.S. codes that might bring and shed more light to what I'm talking about so that you guys can learn more about your freedoms and rights. Now, we're going to go back over to Google. I guess I could just do it right from here. And we're going to type in Cornell Law because I like their library, edu. They should give me an honorary membership for promoting their site, just saying. Or they should let me write for them, seeing how I've found numerous mistakes in their codes and stuff like that. But we'll leave that alone for now. Cornell Law, we're going to go to 8 U.S.C. 11. Well, you know what? Yeah, let's go to 1101. And let's take a look at what that code says. So here, well, that's not the right one. It's part of it. We're getting there. There we go. So 8 U.S.C., so 8 United States Code, section, that's what this symbol stands for, 1101, definitions. Now we're going to drop down to national because we want to know what a national is. Okay. Now here you see two different things. It says the term national means a person owing allegiance to a state. However, you have to be careful because we now know that there's multiple types of citizens multiple types of nationals. And if you use 8 U.S.C. 1101 20A 21, the problem with that you don't see on a normal sheet of paper is it doesn't have the hyperlinks. And also, thank you to Cornell's Law EDU by lowering the S here, because this lower S means all of the states, whereas the uppercase S, which used to be here, meant the organic, 50 organic states. And that was not right, and they corrected that. So let's take a look at the definition of state here and see if we can find anything American. It says the term state, okay. Now here, because it's the beginning, uses a statement at the beginning, they can capitalize it because that's proper. Same thing here. It says includes the District of Columbia. Right out of the gate, they're saying the District of Columbia. Well, now you guys know that this District of Columbia is not one of the 50 organic states. It's not American. It's in our family, but it itself is not intrinsically American. Private other nations, countries, corporations are all co-owners in it. They married into our family, but it's not ours. And then it goes on to say Puerto Rico, Guam, Virgin Islands, Commonwealth. I don't see anything really American here. So if you use that code, you're in the wrong boat. But if you were born there in D.C. or those places, you're also considered then a national. This is where the Department of State was getting it wrong. For the passports, there are multiple types of nationals. But then there's also normal U.S. citizens. So 22 goes on to say the term national of the United States means a citizen of the United States, which this then encompasses everybody in the family. So that means everybody, including the ones born in D.C., can be considered a citizen of the United States. Guam and whatever else. Well, hold on. Guam and the other island that is mentioned that the Department of State gets mixed up, they are not citizens. They're not U.S. citizens. They are nationals. So that's why there's multiple types of nationals. But those individuals out there cannot vote because they're not U.S. citizens. So they don't get that right. We being born here get both. So if you click on the word United States here, it says the term United States, except as otherwise specifically herein provided, which means that other places the term United States may have a different meaning because it has 3 different meanings, and you have to know which one you're using when you're doing certain things. But they're telling you here, when used in a geographical sense, meaning the actual land that you can touch, actual ground, not a piece of paper, pretend legal fiction, but Alaska. Now, they've abbreviated because they didn't want to put all 50 states there. Okay, we're not going to assume they were just trying to hide the rest of the states. Okay, but you can still see that nonetheless, Alaska, Hawaii, Puerto Rico, these are physical places. State of Alaska is on paper and operates business in the Alaska state area. Those are not the same things, though they work together. Alaska state is different than state of Alaska. Those are 2 separate things. For each organic state, there is a counterpart of a legal fiction. There's a legal person, a doppelganger, a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde to each one. One is geographical and one is legal on paper, operating in the same geographical area, which has the primordial or first right, most power, Alaska state. Wisconsin state, Florida state has more power than the state of Alaska, the state of Wisconsin, the state of Florida, and so on and so forth. The organic wins over the inorganic or the de facto. The de jure, meaning the real and first, and then there's the de facto, Latin, de, void, fact, void of facts. So now you see, and for me, I use 8 U.S.C. 1101 A 22 B. I can still use my citizenship side, but when I want to be private, this is the one I'm using. But what other things could I show you to prove it? Well, let's go to 1401. Bam! Federal law, Cornell, Legal Institute, showing us these codes from the government. And it says if you know this code, then you know that you're a national and a citizen of the United States at birth. You get both natural, national, living, private, exempt, taxable, public, legal person. You get both. You are one and the same, but you can use either or when you choose. But you get both. Now, your particular situation may vary. That's why they've got different types of those things down here. You have to see which one of these fits you. I'm A out of the gate, okay? But you may have one. So your code would be 8 U.S.C. 1401 A. These are your rights, guys. These are your freedoms. So, depending on how you're operating, if you're in your vehicle, which one of these two are you? And you've got your driver's license and your registered vehicle, which one of these are you? Well, you're a citizen. You're a U.S. citizen then. You're that public person, that legal person. If you're like me and you're in your vehicle, which is then called a private conveyance because I own it and it's privately registered to my private things, not to the state. You have your own plates and you've done everything correctly, and they can verify that in the computer. You're a national. Not that you have to do what I just said to be a national, because remember, it's telling you right here, you have it at birth. Everybody has it at birth. And if you're naturalized, you get this. You get both. Now, these other corporations and certain law enforcement and whatever else, they don't want you to know about the national part because that means you're their boss. Doesn't mean you can tell them to do certain things or slap them around and be disrespectful, but you are, in fact, their boss. As a citizen, you are being administered. You're essentially legally looked at as um, a ward of the state, an orphan that belongs to them. You're not competent to know what's going on. You're a member of their association. And they can prove that because you have the driver's license on you. All your life, if somebody asked you, are you a citizen? You've been saying yes, which is not a lie. But you also didn't know that you're a national. Now, you can't get in trouble as a citizen and jump over and say, well, I'm a national. It's not how it works because if you were operating as a citizen and you got in trouble as a citizen, you're a citizen. But that doesn't mean that you still don't have rights as a national. So it depends on the event and what occurred. I've seen people do some messed up things and then try to claim that they're a national, and then they get prosecuted and they get talked about. Oh, this is one of those sovereign citizens. There's no such thing as a sovereign citizen. There are sovereigns, which are nationals, and then there are citizens who must obey everything. You cannot be both in any one event. If you do something criminal, you're a citizen. Or were a national and then you waived your rights because of what you did, and they're going to prosecute you as a citizen. You lose your power as a national the moment you do a major controversy, criminal, or deny somebody else their rights to be private, or you hurt a citizen. Now, as a national, You do have a lot more protections. You're now party to the Constitution for the United States of America, Declaration of Independence, and the Bill of Rights. But you are also protected under 8 U what is it? Yeah, 8 U.S.C. 112. Yeah, okay, 18. My bad, not 8, it's 18. Protection of foreign officials, official guests, and internationally protected persons. Now, normally you'd be saying this doesn't apply to you, but it does. How so? Well, if you read down through the code here, cleverly placed in letter C is the term national of the United States. So when you're operating in private capacity, and this goes out to all of the nationals and citizens and law enforcement and whatever else, if someone's operating their vehicle privately, walking down the street privately, they have their own private ID, they have their passport, or they know how to present themselves properly, they are an internationally protected person here and abroad. These are facts. These are things that we should have been taught in school. We were never taught in school. I was never taught in my Boy Scout handbook here. I wasn't in college. I had to learn this all on my own. And because there's no official courses and classes, I mean, I think there are some college courses on constitutional law. But remember, nobody has to teach you constitutional law or the right of private law. So, how would a lawyer know about most of this or a police officer? They're learning state law statutes, codes, and regulations for their 14th Amendment U.S. citizens. They're not learning the superior law. But it's funny because in the old days when I was bothered by cops on this stuff, I would always be released within minutes. I would talk to their commanding officers or the chief of police who knew exactly what I was talking about. I would talk to the judge privately. Depending, of course, on what you've done and how you treat them, they still deserve to be treated with respect, unless they're a piece of shit. And even then, don't do anything stupid that they can then label you a sovereign citizen. So do not become a belligerent or combatant. So these are your rights, guys. These are your freedoms. These are your liberties. This is where it starts. And then there's a whole new world of the private that you can learn if you guys want to watch these videos. Do you want to learn how to move better in the public? Then you should watch these videos because most of these things I teach are what you need to learn on a daily basis. And you don't have to use any of these things. And you don't have to do anything that I mentioned in any of my videos to be private because you already have that standing as a national, as a New Yorker. But you're also a public U.S. citizen because once again, you have both. Now, wait, I guess before we go, some people would argue and say, well, Wolf, I hear what you're saying, but I'm from Mesopotamia and a national, I've seen it, it says national and citizen at birth, but those are just, aren't those really just the same thing? I think those are the same thing. I don't think this guy knows what he's talking about. He ain't won any court cases and done all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. He doesn't have some 160, 70 IQ. He's not, you're welcome to believe your own delusion all you want. I'm not going to interfere with that, and I don't generally have to prove it to you. It's no need. I'm showing you where to go look up the information for yourself. So my IQ, my history, my work background, my ongoings and dealings with police, attorney, judges, lawyers, people in the mafia, Illuminati, Masons, sheriffs, scumbags, millionaires, doesn't matter. Though I've got friends in all of those things I just named and learned a lot of this stuff from them. That doesn't matter. What matters is you before bothering me like some of these trolls do in my emails or in the comments. And I get it, you don't like it because boo hoo, I'm showing them how you as a tax guy may not make as much money in taxes, or you as a lawyer may have to, you may not get as many clients because we're showing people how to do it for themselves, or you, the judge, may not like it because now you're going to get paperwork that shows people how to dismiss their own cases. I get it. I get it. Or you're a police officer and you're like, well, I don't like that people can do right to travel. Well, guess what? You still get to hunt them down and chase them if they're doing speeding or doing something criminal or wrong. Otherwise, the Constitution says that we have the, and the Supreme Court and the federal courts have ruled that we have a right to be private and operate our vehicles, homes, and all them other things privately if we choose. We do not have to be a part of the public or the political circuit. But I digress. Let me show you how and why the national is not the same thing as a U.S. citizen because the codes, the law, and the courts have already determined such. I'm not creating anything new. Everything I do here, you guys can do yourselves. You don't even have to buy any of my files. You can get it and make it, buy it, whatever, all free, whatever. It's out there. I'm just saying if you want to support me and you need the help, I'm here. There's no scams here or any of that. Matter of fact, I have a triple A rating with the Better Business Bureau. They call me all the time asking me to update and do all this. I don't care about none of your systems, your ratings, and all that stuff. No, no, no. Now, if you want to know how to get there, I can help you. You want to know how to fix your credit, I can help you. But let's take a look at where the rubber meets the road. All right. So we're going to go to the Department of State. So we're going to go to 8 FAM 301.1-1, letter B. Now, mind you, what I'm about to show you, we can stop sharing for 1 second. For those people who don't believe or naysayers, America's jurisprudence, state and federal. Can you see that? So it says aliens and citizens, section 2025 to end. So this is on citizenship, aliens and nationality. That's what they put it all underneath, that one. And I've got two more books. Means positive, the real law, ultimate law, nothing higher than that other than God's law. That's what those are. But it's online, and we're going to show you where the Department of State and what they have to say. So under 8 FAM 301.1, acquisition by birth in the United States. Now, there we go. There's some good reading here in A, 1 and 2, but we're going to pop down to B. So 8 FAM 301.1-1, letter B. It says national versus citizen. So you get both, but now they're being very specific because a lot of places want to say it's the same thing. Here's why it's not. Okay, once again, let's go up here though. fam.state.gov/FAM-08 FAM-08 FAM 030101.html. And if you don't know, yes, I'm an engineer and all architect, all that good stuff. Not a building architect, but HTML, hypertext, it's a transfer protocol, or HTTP, hypertext transfer protocol system, blah, blah, blah. Okay? In other words, it's how internet pages move from place to place where you can access them. Anyway, so it says here under citizen, national versus citizen, it says while most people and countries use the term citizenship and nationality interchangeably, U.S. law differentiates between the two. So most places they are the same thing, but it says here in the US it's different. So you have two different things that most places view as interchangeable, the same, but US law says that they are different. So when you have both, you are literally two different things. You are a public US citizen and a private national slash state citizen. These are recognized legal and lawful terms. It says under current law. So this is current. How do we know that? Up here it says last time this is updated, 2021. So it's still current. It says under current law, all U.S. citizens, all. So even the people who don't like my information and don't think anything I'm talking about is real, and I think they're assholes, and they think I'm an asshole, but they're really the assholes. Even them, as U.S. citizens, what does it say here? Are also U.S. nationals. But then it goes on to say, but not all U.S. nationals are U.S. citizens. What does that mean? It means that there are certain types of U.S. nationals, because there's more than one type, and they are not citizens. So that means that we must be, so we are one type of U.S. national, but there must be another type of U.S. national. And I'm glad you asked, because here it is. Here's where the Department of State and some cops and some law enforcement agencies get it wrong. There's more than one type of national. U.S. is the family of nationals. So the family of nationals. There are more than one type of nationals within the U.S. family. Let's take a look. If you were born in Samoa or the Swain Islands, you are referred to in spelling matters and placement of the words matter. You are then referred to as a U.S. non-citizen national. Okay? U.S. family, but you're considered a non-citizen type of national, which means you cannot vote. You don't get citizenship. It's in the name. You're part of the U.S. family, but you're a non-citizen. But you're a national. We took over your islands, no offense. We own them shits. But we, for whatever reason, did not want to, or they, when being overtook, did not want to be considered to be citizens. They were like, no, no, no. Well, you guys can own us. We're part of the family, but we want to remain being nationals. So when you get a passport done as a national, that nationality covers you being a U.S. non-citizen national, but because you were born in the States, you you're known as a non-U.S. national, which means you're not a U.S. citizen, but you're a national. So let's take a look at the passport so we can verify that. Remember, the words here are first in order, U.S., then non-citizen, then the last term, national. So let's take a look at 8 FAM 505.2. Passport endorsements put out by the Department of State. Once again, Foreign Affairs Manual. If we slide down to the ever elusive code for being a private national, which is the 09, look here, it says the bearer is a United States national. But see, look, here is the other term that they refer to us as if you were born stateside. not in Samoa or Swain, but stateside. So those are the different classifications of a national. But they refer to us born stateside as a non-citizen. Then the word comes in U.S. national. So a U.S. national means you were born stateside. But if the term non-citizen comes first, that also means the same thing. But remember, when looking at the ones born non-stateside in Samoa and Swain, theirs were U.S., then the word non-citizen, then the word national. Now, some of this may seem like it's semantics or it's all the same thing. It's not. It just means you do not overstand the legal level of law. That's why I'm teaching you this. This is how the legal level gets their information correct for law and for the lawful side of things. The terms have to be specific. So a non-citizen U.S. national is also a state citizen. You were born stateside. They will also accept the term U.S. national. How do we know that? They say it right here. The bearer is a U.S. national. These are the same terms, or they are the same thing. This is just the abbreviated version of it. Why do they do it like this? To not confuse us between the difference of a Samoa Swain born U.S. non-citizen national who does not get the rights to vote and U.S. citizenship and the benefits that come along with it, compared to a U.S. national, which is also a non-citizen U.S. national, / the same thing, synonymous with the term state citizen. Now, in the private, you can call yourself whatever you want. But if you want to prove who you are to law enforcement or the courts, you better be using the exact terms I'm giving you here. That's plain and simple. Why do you think some of these people are like, oh, I didn't get the same results he did? Yeah, because you're trying to argue that you're an American state national, and that term, much like sovereign citizen, has no standing in their law books. If you cannot find it in one of these green books up here, it doesn't exist. You're babbling Greek, and you don't even speak Greek well. Yasu tikanis, pospai, kala, kala, puli kala. I do. And some Latin, and French, and Spanish, and some German, some Russian, and some Hebrew, and apparently Tagalog. Not fluent in any of those anymore, other than English, of course. And some of them I'm still learning. But it's not to be personal or offensive. It's the law. It has no those terms do not have standing in law. They have not been codified or codified. They have not been placed into code to have standing in law. Now, the lower courts or the cops, yeah, they can say sovereign citizen all they want. But I guarantee you $1 million, that's not how they're going to arrest you. It's not going to say that. They might say you believe you are. They may talk about it, sneer, communicate, whisper, put a little note on the paper, but they're booking you or dealing with you as a U.S. citizen. But there's also ways to declare yourself a national, and that they don't want you to know, especially in the courts. But remember, depending on your event, there's times to fight as a U.S. citizen, and there's times to fight as a national. So, like one of the ladies I did a consultation with, like in the last 2 weeks, um, you can't just go, well, I know I'm a national, I've got more rights in this, I'm gonna fight my case this way. Because fighting as a U.S. citizen, or depending on the event, when she was dealing with trusts on the public side, there's no reason to argue you're a national or state citizen. You're doing right to travel, or you want to put your house in a private tax exempt thing, or you don't want to pay taxes at your job. Well, yeah, we can help you all with all that stuff and more. But you have to then fight as a U.S. national or state citizen. Police also refer to us as private citizens or foreign nationals. That's when you would do that. But you can't just punch somebody in the neck meat and then run back on your porch like you're safe, like we could do when we were like 5 years old or 10 years old. Like, oh, I'm safe on base. No, that's not how it works. You're grown now, and you're telling them now, when you start learning this, you're doing what's known as the age of majority. You're telling them that you're competent. So if you're competent, much like she is very competent, but in this matter, she was not fully competent. She was fighting her case in court as a national when she should have been fighting as a U.S. citizen. And I showed her why, step by step. So once again, guys, use this information as you see best fit. If you need help, reach out to me. I do consultations on all of this. Um, I won't go into all the businesses, but we've helped people with their tax problems, with legal remedies and solutions. We've taken multi properties and made them private, tax exempt, single, multi, depending on what's going on. Um, Land patents, loyal title, private trusts, and more. Everything in these videos that I show you guys, we've done. And me and my small but growing team can help you out if you choose. We may give you advice and it may not make sense to you, but that's okay because we're the ones with the knowledge and the know-how and the experience. And if you want to learn, watch my videos. But you can also watch other people's videos. I'm not saying I'm the only one with this knowledge, by no means. I'm just one of the best. However, in watching other people's videos and mine, I'm going to put my own self out there. Do your own research. Do not be ripped off by people. Should you pay for somebody's time and whatever else? Yes, especially if they're really good at it. But there are some people who are really bad at it and to take your money first. So know who you're dealing with. Be careful. Don't fall for people with you don't even know their real name. Oh, he goes by this on YouTube. Okay, that's cute. What is his real name? If you're not afraid of people knowing who you are and what you're doing, of course you should always be safe, even for me. But if you've got nothing to hide, then you know what? Use your name. Watch out for people promising something for nothing. Watch out for super high prices per hour to talk to them, to buy their packages. They hide their face. You got the sunglasses on. They're talking down to you all the time. Watch out for things like that. That usually indicates shady people or people who are afraid of you seeing and knowing who they really are, or they got past life things that they're maybe running from. And I'm not saying in all court cases and every scenario, but don't be so eager to learn this that you waive your common sense and you get ripped off. How can I speak like that? How do I know that? Because I've been ripped off by a lot of these people out there to the point of thousands of dollars. And then I decided I was just going to buy the books myself and then be a line in the sand for people who want somebody who's going to give you the truth as much as possible right down the road. Not red, not blue, not gay, not straight, not white, not this or whatever, blah, 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 just right down the middle and show you where to find the information for yourself so you can vet it or research it on your own. So that's it, guys. At the end of this, what can we say? Fact or fiction? Well, you make your own decision. For me, it's a solid fact. I've been doing this forever, but I can't do it forever. So we got to get you guys in the game. And we've already got hundreds of thousands of people already in it. So if you want your rights, your freedoms, your liberties, they're there. You don't have to buy one thing from me or any of these other so-called gurus out here. You already have it. But if you want to learn how to move with it properly or how to push back when they try to keep you from your rights and freedoms and liberty, then that's where me or people like me can give you what you need. to make it happen and to get the successes that you deserve and that you've earned and that are already yours. But you don't have to do all of these things to be private. You already have it now that you know. And knowing is half the battle. Don't sue me, G.I. Joe, educationally speaking. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you later. Wolf's out.